Welcome to today's episode. I'm here with my friend Whitney, and I am so super excited to talk with her today. We've been planning this episode for weeks now.
Decades even.
Now. Yeah, decades before we were even born. And
right, before we knew each other, you know.
We've been adding things along the way. We keep adding little bullet points, and as I've been reading this book, I've been finding quotes to share, statistics, and things like that, so I'm really excited. And I'm sure Whitney and I were going to be able to talk for some time, so I'm thinking we're going to do a part 1 and a part 2. So, yes. Anyway, Whitney and I met in person our second semester of college, but we were in the same class virtually on an online class our first semester. She reached out and was like, hey, do you want to be study buddies? Our professor had said that we could take quizzes together. And so she was like, want to take quizzes together? And I was like, yes. So anyway, we just got to know each other over one semester online, and then we met in person the next semester, right? Wasn't it the next semester?
So true. Yeah. So we had biology in fall, and then we met spring officially.
Yes.
Kyra was very nice. She gave me a tour because I was scared because I hadn't actually been to real college yet because I was online.
It was fun.
But yeah.
Okay, Whitney, introduce yourself. Tell us a little about who you are.
Who am I? Okay, well, I'm going to be embarrassing to say. So I'm a Swiftie, right? And her album Lover, follow me on this. Like the thesis of that album is like, you are what you love. That's what she says in Daylight. Mm-hmm. So some things I love that I think define me. So I love music so much. Any form of art, literature, pretty much I'm your resident book girl. So I read a lot. I listen to a ton of music. I love horses so much. I sold my horse like a year ago now, but still love them. I also love wolves, pretty much any animal.
Wolves?
And, oh yeah.
I wolves feel like that's so random.
Dude, you don't want me to go into it. I've got some embarrassing... It was like elementary school. I could show you. I'll send you a picture of it later. But I have this wolf tapestry that I made in my room. It's just a little guy, but it's amazing. And I love it so much. And I also have a ceramic wolf that I made in pottery in high school.
That's pretty cute.
I did my whole art investigation was on like the north. So I've got a bunch of wolf art in my room. They were my favorite animal when I was young. Yeah. Oh, and I do a lot of art. I book journal and then I craft. I have some pen pals. I don't like paint or draw that much anymore, but I did when I was young, and now I just do like crafty stuff.
Okay, wait. So explain what book journaling is. Maybe I do it and I don't know what it is.
I'll show you, but anyway, so it's just like a notebook, and I write down every book I read, whether it's a reread, what format I read it. So like if it was an audiobook, Kindle, physical, library loan. And then if I'm really into the series, I'll write I'll make a playlist for it and like standout lyrics, parts I love.
Cute. Oh my gosh.
I've got quotes and lyrics, and then
I freaking love it.
I have the little book titles, and I literally just write reviews. Like it's like hundreds of book
and
reports.
You print out the little picture of the book cover. Yeah. Whitney, that's the most precious and cutest thing I've ever seen.
Thank you. This is my pride and joy. I do it's like a craft page of like it's like a character study. So it's got quotes from them and songs that relate to them and the general vibes of them. So
I wish I could show everyone listening what this looks like. It's gorgeous. She has little pictures of her books and has wonderful handwriting, and it's all organized. It's so cute.
Yes, thank you. And I read 75 books last year. And so I still trying to wrap up my book journal for last year so I can put it on my Instagram. Be like, that's right, people, drink it in.
So how many books, what's the most amount of books you've read in a year?
In a year?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've only book journaled for 2 years now, but
okay.
I've been a reader since like second grade. Fablehaven, we've talked about it, is what got me into reading. And ever since then, like, my family went to the library like every other week, and we had 2 library cards because we'd each check out like 30 books, and so like we needed multiple cards.
I
and
didn't
like,
know you could do that. You could get more than one library card.
Yeah, my dad worked for the city, and so he had one, and then my mom got one, and so
like,
it was amazing.
Come.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. This year is the most I've officially read at 75. Last year I read like 60 something. Oh yeah.
60, that's
I mean, I'm the one who reads the most now, but my mom still reads like 50, 40 books a year, so pretty good.
I don't book journal, but I do keep track. Have I shown you this? I do keep track of every single book I've read. And then the page number, the author, how long it took me, what book number it is, and then the score out of 10 or whatever. So I did that.
Okay, yeah.
I did that in the spring break of 2018. I wanted to like mention that it wasn't from the beginning of the year. So I wrote starting spring break of 2018. And so I read 31 books that year. Let's see.
Amazing.
51 books the next year, which is 2019. 2020 was a doozy. I wonder why.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I read 76 books that year. And
dang, one-upper alert.
No, just wait. It doesn't, it gets lower. And then 2021, I read 38 books. So, went back down. And then in 2022, I read, 36. So, you've got me way beat this last year. Okay, well anyway, we got way off topic, but it was necessary. It was very necessary, so.
Now you know me.
Now you know Whitney. And now you've heard my laugh probably too much already in this episode. Okay. So like I said, Whitney and I have been talking a lot about what we were going to talk about, and it's been a lot of fun actually, because we keep looking deeper and for deeper meanings and deeper things, and it's been fun. What do you think, Whitney?
It's a relevant topic, you know, seeing as we are friends and we're talking about friendship.
Wow, that's good.
So relevant. Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you.
So applicable in our time.
Right.
Not even just with our friendship, but within general, you know.
Well, and as people, we both really value being good friends.
Absolutely.
You know, which is clear in the friendship that we have, I think. And so, like.
For sure. Yeah,
I don't know. So we care. We care a lot about this topic.
100%. We're both passionate.
Oh, for sure.
Guys, I have a hard time being serious when Whitney's around. I just want to goof around. Okay.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get into it. We'll get to the passionate state.
Yeah, true. Okay, so you just said something about it being like important and applicable. And I actually wanted to share a quote already, just because I'm feeling it. So I've been reading this book. It's called Together. And Vivek H. Murthy wrote it. Anyway, I'll talk more about him later because I've been reading his book and there's a lot of good stuff in it. But he explains loneliness. He's the 19th general surgeon, or was the 19th general surgeon of the United States. And he said, Julianne's study, so that's a researcher that did a lot of research into this topic. Julianne's study showed that people with strong social relationships are 50% less likely to die prematurely than people with weak social relationships. Even more striking, she found that the impact of lacking social connection on reducing lifespan is equal to the risk of smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and it's greater than the risk associated with obesity, excess alcohol consumption, and lack of exercise. Simply put, Julianne had found that weak social connections can be a significant danger to our health. So, very, very applicable, very, very important.
Right. It's not just about looking like you have friends. Like, it's so important for not only our mental health, you know, and social health or whatever, but
Our
literal
health.
physical
Our
health.
very
Yeah.
literal physical health. Yes.
Right. And so then going off that, also in Kyra's book that she found, it says studies were also suggesting that lonely people were more likely to have lower quality sleep, more immune system dysfunction, more impulsive behavior, and impaired judgment. So,
which I feel like is groundbreaking.
literally.
I wish more
insane.
people knew about this, because if they did, you know, maybe they'd go out and make more of an effort to have those deep social quality friendships. And the book talks about how it's not how many friends you have, but it's the quality of the friendships you have, which I think is important and what Whitney and I are going to talk about today.
Very noteworthy.
Yes. So, like I said, we wrote down a lot of things, and one of the things that really stood out to me was that we talked about different expectations of friends, and how the more you know someone, or the more you are friends with someone, that is like dependent on the burden you place upon someone. And I thought that was kind of interesting, and I think you brought that up actually.
Totes. Okay. So my notes on this part. So I wrote acquaintances you don't expect very much from, right? Like you see them in class, you say, hi, how was your weekend? If you remember something they told you about, it can like kind of brighten their day if you happen to remember a fact they didn't expect you to remember.
Right.
And they didn't expect you to remember because you're just acquaintances, right?
Right.
And so that's why that feels special. And then, you know, friends, casual friends, you expect more. Like you hope that they remember that you went, you know, on a trip or something.
Right.
And then like a best friend, like a really close friend, like they know the ins and outs of your day, and you expect them, like, I don't know, like with my kind of friends, like I hope that they'll respond within 24 hours to like a text message. But like with my really like best friend, like say my older sister, like she pretty much responds within the hour because, you know, it's just kind of a different expectation.
That's me unless I'm
based
taking
on
a nap.
What?
I said, that's me unless I'm taking a nap.
Right. That's 24 hours. Okay. That's a valid time frame. So yeah, like the burden placed upon, because like I have this really awesome friend who's always like, I'm so sorry, like for, you know, chatting your ear off so long, or like for whatever. And then it's like, you know, no pressure. And it's like, no, I like, we are good friends. Like I
enjoy
I want this burden. Like it's not a burden, but like I appreciate the weight of your relationship, you know, of this relationship. Like they're worth the space, you know?
Yes. No, I totally think that's awesome. I was also thinking about the burden of, yes, how much you open up, but then also just like how much you talk to them and how much you contact them, or even like, do they come to mind when you are going to have a party, or do they come to mind when you're going to invite friends over? Do they come to mind when, you know, you want to go out and get an ice cream and you want someone to go with you? Like that kind of depends on the level of your friendship.
So true. Or like, okay, so I was just on a trip for Christmas break, and like I'm like trying to buy souvenirs for my friends or whatever, and it's like my really close friend who's on a mission, I'm like, oh, I could get this for her and I could get this for her, and I'm like, she won't even have it for a year, like chill out. But like the more you know someone, like the closer you are, you see them everywhere. Like I don't know, like there's some really beautiful like song lyrics, like I see your face everywhere, or I see parts of you everywhere, because you know them so well that like you can't help but notice them and all the beautiful things of life, right?
That's deep. My goodness, that's deep. Yeah, wow.
I told you we'd get into it.
You said. Okay, wow, you find them in everything. I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay, I kind of want to talk about the contracts of friendship. So we were just talking one day, and Whitney said something about like a social contract being similar to a contract of a friendship. And I thought that was really interesting and something we should talk about.
Oh, yes, yes.
Do you remember this?
It's been a while. Yeah, no, I do. Kind of.
I kind of threw you under the bus, so I'll kind of start off. But, like, one of the things that I really value in a contract, and it's not like, I'm like, okay, Whitney, you and I are officially friends. Sign this dotted line.
Right. These
You
are
know?
my
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever read, like, a fake dating, or, like, if you've seen
Yes.
All the Boys I've Loved before. Like, she
Yes.
literally has, like, a contract.
Yeah,
but
she really
implied
does.
contracts.
Yes. But, like, one of the things that's really important for me to be on that implied contract is loyalty. That's one of the most important qualities for me and a friend. And I don't mean, like, loyal to the end, although that would be nice. It's more like I tell them something about me and they acknowledge that about me the next time. Like, so for example, I was friends with this older young woman in my ward when I was a little bit younger, and we would talk by ourselves and have a relationship and hang out outside of Young Women's. And then when we got to Young Women's, it was like the test of, is she going to still treat me like we're best friends or just as a friend or an acquaintance? Because we've hung out outside of Young Women's. So this is the test of loyalty or whatever. And it was never like I was thinking, okay, this is the test. Never. But every time, you know, you go into Young Women's and she, like, her face would light up and she was happy to see me. Like, that was fulfilling the bounds of that loyalty that I so seek for. If that makes
Right.
if that makes
no,
sense.
absolutely. And, what was my idea? I don't know, man.
It's alright. It happens. Totally happens.
Contract. Oh, well, I was just going to know that, like, the reason it's important to, like, not, like, have mutual expectations or, like, not to, like, I'm not saying you need, like, explicit actual contract, right? I'm just saying, like, people do have expectations. And, like, when you show up to Young Women's and you find out that your friend isn't, like, being as friendly as she is on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah.
Right. It's because you have expectations or hopes, right, of it being at a certain point. And she fell below those expectations. So, like, my mom, you know, letterboard, right, in her house. And it's like, you know, the key to happiness is low expectations. Lower, lower, lower. Because, like, honestly, if something exceeds your expectations, it could have been a 3 out of 10, but you literally thought it was going to be, like, negative 100. And you're like, oh, that's all right.
Okay,
you know?
that works so perfectly with me today. So I flew home from Arizona today, and I just I just plan on my bags being searched. And it's not because anything's in there that they would stop, but just because it makes me anxious when they put it in the other line to, like, be searched. And that's happened to me a few times. And so I was just expecting both of them to be opened. And then when neither of them were opened and it just went right through security on its merry way, I was so happy.
Right. Thrilled.
But if you think, like, oh, my bags aren't going to be opened and they're not open, then you don't think anything special of it.
Right. Well, it's like your other episode you were talking about when you were trying to find your, like, the chord for your lesson. Like,
yes.
You had to adjust your expectations. You're like, well, maybe this lesson won't go exactly as I thought. Right. And you were bracing yourself so that you wouldn't be disappointed.
Right.
But, like, then, since your expectations had been re-lowered to a possible reality, like, then once it was exceeded again, like, you did find a chord. Right. You were thrilled, you know?
Exactly. No, that's so true. Yes. And I think sometimes it's good to have certain expectations as long as you're realistic about them, or if you can accept them not being exceeded and then work harder to make them be exceeded next time or something. Like, if you have expectations for yourself and you don't quite meet them, the goal is not to be like, well, let's just not have me grow at all and set my expectations super low. It's, let's get to a place where I am capable of meeting those expectations and things.
Right. Well, I think that's, like, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, that's, like, one half of the coin, and you're so right. Like, that's, like, the bare minimum, right? Like, make sure your expectations are in the ballpark, you know? You're not expecting something crazy. But then on the flip side, it's such a beautiful thing when someone exceeds your expectations and you're pleasantly surprised, and then you grow closer, right? They, like, share a piece of themselves that you didn't, like, was maybe a little, you know, some people might say a little much. And not, like, bombing you, not love bombing or whatever. Like, it's, like, just a little. Like, it's just, like, a little, like, exciting. It's like, oh, my.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, wow, that was you, but
Yeah.
then you're closer because of it. Like,
No, I agree. And I think one thing that's cool too is when people do decide to be brave and to open up, it makes you, if you're reciprocating it, want to open up as well. They're like, oh, they're being
exactly.
brave, so I want to do that too.
Right. Yeah. And so, like, as long, like I had written on my notes, like, disclaimer, chronic dump is different. Like, it's not like I show up to your doorstep, you're like, hey, do you want to come over for, like, say we, like, weren't very good friends. And it was, like, the most, like, just a little thing. Like, maybe we should, like, try being friends. It's like,
We're
oh,
gonna
do you
watch a
want to
movie
come
where there's not a
watch
ton
a
of
movie?
talking or something, Yeah.
Right. And then I show up and I just lose it and dump everything in the whole world uninvited. Like,
Yeah.
that's different,
Yeah.
like, I'm just saying little things, pieces at a
Right.
time,
No, for
can
sure.
really culminate well.
I agree. And I think in addition to that, maybe it's a little bit at one point and then you guys keep talking and then suddenly you open up more. And that's different than a chronic dump because you're both collaborating,
Yes.
Okay, collaborating together and you're both sharing pieces so you keep sharing more until you just become closer. And we've had a few of those conversations a few times.
Right. Which brings us, I think, very well to one of our other bullet points on our notes is, like, this need for relationships to be mutual, right? Like you need to both be putting in effort.
Yes.
Both reciprocating the effort that's being put in,
Yes. Hey, quick interruption. We had some technical difficulties with Zoom and it ending on us, and so I had to start a new Zoom, and I ended up figuring out how to edit. Woohoo! It only took me at least 4 hours, not even kidding. Anyway, so I figured it out. I'm adding this little thing in here, so if it seemed a little bit clipped, it's because I finally learned how to edit a little bit. So this is part 2 of this episode that we just continued to record. I hope you enjoy.
The concept of mutuality, like, you want your friendships to be mutual, you want to be putting in the same amount of effort, because otherwise someone's expectations won't be met and they'll be disappointed and sad,
Right.
or
Very
and
sad.
so very sad.
Very
I mean,
sad.
it's real. And so, like, the bullet point I put on my notes under that is just, like, you want to recognize, like, it's okay to outwardly, explicitly recognize that. Like,
yes.
Kyra, I appreciate you
Yes.
inviting me today.
Yes.
Or like, I love that you thought of me for this.
Yes.
Or like, wow, I loved hanging out with you. So I think recognizing that is a great way to solidify
Yes.
what contract you do have existing.
Yeah.
Like, acknowledging what's happened so far.
And not only
Go ahead, sorry.
No. You were talking. I interrupted you. I just got excited. Not only is it like an explicit thing, but you can implicitly do that too by inviting them back, like to do other things as well. I think there's value in being like, hey, thank you for inviting me, or hey, I like hanging out with you, or hey, it's good to see you. But then also reciprocating that back and being like, hey, I'm having a game night, or hey, I'm having a movie night, or want to go get ice cream or something. And both doing that, both initiating, will tell your friend that you care about them. And then also, I think there's a lot of value in being explicit about it. And I was talking about a different friend about this, about how sometimes it's hard to say, like, I love you to a friend, just because it's, like, weird sometimes. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, just saying, hey, love you, bud. I don't know. And so she said there are different forms of I love you. When you see someone, when you're walking down campus, and you're like, hey! And you get super excited to see them, and you just say hey for, like, 2 seconds. But you're, like, excited to see them. That's, like, a form of I love you. Or, hey, I want to hang out with you. That's a form of I love you, Or I value our friendship together. Or I like your cute face.
Right.
All of that is a form of I love you.
Right. And I don't want to be, like, cliche. Everyone knows. Maybe you don't. But, like, love languages. Exactly all those examples you were talking about. Hey, I love that. That's, words of affirmation. Or, like, absolutely. Oh, I want to hang out.
Yeah.
Time. Like, yeah, there's a lot of different love. Or, like, I tend to show love with gifts. Like, it's like, hey, I got you this because I know you like it, or I thought of you. That is definitely an expression of love.
Oh, absolutely.
An appreciation for a friend.
Absolutely. Especially when you put time and effort into those gifts. And
exactly.
Even if there's not time and effort, even if it's just something super simple that shows you thought of them, I feel like that is super special too.
Right. Like outside of occasions, I think is what really shines.
Like just a mundane, normal Tuesday, little
Right.
gift.
Yeah. No, it absolutely made my day. Like the other week, my friend brought me brownies and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah.
Like it was beautiful. I loved it.
Loved. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right. Knowing I was like on her friend list to deliver brownies to was like such a reaffirming thing, you know? Because she would be on my list. So it was nice to know that I was on hers.
No, for sure. I think this is kind of dumb, but on Instagram, there's like that close friends
right, yeah.
Instagram. And honestly, most of the people I feel like aren't necessarily close friends, but like when you're on someone else's and they've posted, you're like, oh, that's so cute. Like I'm one of their close friends, I don't
know. Well, yeah, it's just like a great way of acknowledging at least what relationship you have, even, if it's not the tightest.
Yeah. Like I'm willing to show you my random moments on Instagram, I don't know.
Right.
That I
Keeping
don't show
it real.
everyone. Yeah. I don't usually use Instagram much, but I did notice that I'm on your close friends, and it made me happy.
You are.
It really
good.
Did. Yeah. When
well,
you're
and like the thing
about
is,
not being able to fall asleep.
It's so real. Yeah.
Something else that I know I already brought up, like qualities and stuff, but this kind of relates. I put a recognition of that connection. So when you do have a friendship and you recognize it, that is a form of loyalty.
True. Acknowledging, that is so true. Like when you say, you are my friend, like that's loyalty to you as a friend,
Yes. And the thing is, being loyal to someone doesn't mean you're not loyal to someone else. It just means that you still value your friendship with them.
Right.
Okay, so
true.
Let's do the word of the day. I'll share the word of the day and you'll do the quote. How's that?
Excellent.
Okay, sweet. Okay, confabulate is our word of the day today. It is a verb, and it is, in a formal setting, it means engage in conversation / talk. In a psychiatry setting, it means to fabricate imaginary experiences as compensation for loss of memory. I personally like the first one more, engage in conversation.
Yeah.
But that is what confabulate means. So today, we're confabulating. That sounds
we totally are.
Weird. Confabulating.
It's like conversation, confab. This is a fabulous conversation.
Oh, ooh,
we're formulating ideas.
Yes, because cone means
confabulate.
With fabulous. I love it. I'm going to do cheers.
A what?
You couldn't hear it, but on my
fancy podcast.
Yeah, there's a cheer button. And last time I did a drum, like drum roll please, and someone told me they thought it was hilarious. And so I decided
I remember it.
I decided I should put those in there because I think it's fun. Okay, do you want to share the quote of the day?
Yes. Okay. So I just found this on Instagram, but it says, love doesn't just sit there like a stone. It has to be made like bread, remade all the time, made new. And Ursula K. Le Guin said that. But I thought that was applicable, it's
applicable.
not like love or, relationships, friendships, whatever it may be. Like it doesn't just, you have to put effort in.
Absolutely. And I think that's a form of loyalty too.
So true.
Effort.
And also I like that it went beyond, it needs to be made, but also it needs to be remade. Mm-hmm. Like you can make it to the top, but then relationships can become stagnant. Mm-hmm. It's constant effort. You've never actually made it. There's always more to know about a person.
I also like that it says made new. Like there are always new things that you can learn about someone or new memories you can create together.
Beautiful.
Okay, so that will be the end of part 1. I feel like we didn't even hit half our notes.
Honestly.
5 episodes with Whitney, part 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Oh my gosh. We'll try to keep it in 2. We'll try.
We'll try. Or not.
Why stop a good thing? We'll see.
Exactly. Why fix something that's not broken? Okay.
So true.
Thank you for listening. Embrace imperfection, find meaning, satisfaction, and joy from the journey. I'm Kyra, and this is Imperfectly Broken, the podcast.